So today, also, while keeping an eye on the goings on in Israel, I wanted to point out something before the stuff hits the fan, before this great tribulation begins on the Gentiles. Paul pointed out in Thessalonians about how the wicked one would be revealed, whom the master would destroy with the brightness of his coming. And people have always assumed that that means the so-called great falling away or whatever, the rebellion is going to happen in the very last part. That's absolutely not true. I'm going to point out something to you that Paul, before he died, before he was killed, mentioned that nearly all of his co-workers, his own disciples, had forsaken him. It was already, the rebellion was already full speed ahead before Paul even died. Okay? Here's what I want to do. We'll go ahead and start in 2 Timothy 3. People love to quote parts of this and not the rest of it. This also know that in the last days perilous times shall come. And the perilous times came right after Paul was killed. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good or decent and honorable. Good, let's see what that word is. Actually, the word that they're using is these people are without the love of good. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than the loving Elohim. Having a form of piety. Yes, even go to church. Having a form of piety, but denying miraculous powers, from such turn away. In other words, you have people today, as you had many, many years ago, who will go to church and have their piety, and then they will say that there was no creator. For instance, claiming that 500,000 some odd years ago, that's claiming there's no creator. 1 million some odd years ago, that's also claiming there's no creator. Holding on to a form of religion, a form of piety, for show, for everybody, while at the same time being a total and complete atheist. And of course, well, the world is full of that today. So turn away from these people. Because this sort are they that creep into houses. What does the word creep mean? To enter. So the word creep it says perfect participle, middle or passive. To hide in people's houses, or to put on oneself, be clothed with. These are deceivers. Okay? So they enter into your house pretending to be somebody that they're not, and lead little women, it does say little women, or lead captive little women, and it is a contemptuous word meaning silly women, laden and heap on sins. It says laden with sins, but it should read to heap on sins. So they go and creep in there, or they go in unsuspectingly, go into people's houses, and basically, while the husband is gone, lays with their women. That's what they do. Of course, you will find these among all kinds of people in high places, including preachers. Ever learning and ever able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so will these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith, and they shall proceed no further than that. They will stay wicked. For their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. Now, so Paul continues to talk to Timothy about how he suffered persecution, and those who speak the truth will suffer persecution. There's absolutely no getting around it. But you have fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, patience, persecutions, affliction, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra, what persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Master delivered me. Yes, and all that will live piously in Yeshua Messiah shall suffer persecution, or shall be put to flight. I'm going to get to something here in just a few minutes. This is going to help people understand where we all stand. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And I have noticed that being on online forums, how people have become more and more desperate. What is the word that I'm using? Delusional is one, but paranoid is another. I'll give you an example of the Hal Turner blog. They are now talking about trying to overthrow the government on July the 4th. And folks at the Homeland Security need to pay attention to that. But continue you in the things which you are learned and are being assured of, knowing of whom you have learned them from. And that from a child you have known the Holy Scriptures, which was able to make you wise unto salvation through the faith which is in not Jesus Christ, Yeshua Messiah. There is a difference. All inspiration is given by the inspiration of Jehovah, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Jehovah may be perfect, through and throughly furnished in all good works. I will continue in Timothy 4. I'll try not to forget pointing out what separates the righteous from the wicked, what separates the thorns from the fruit. I charge you, this is 2 Timothy 4, I charge you therefore before Jehovah and Yeshua Messiah, who will judge the living and the dead at his appearance and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season. Who's he telling this to? Well, I know he's telling this to Timothy. Okay? In season and out of season. Now, let me show you some words he's telling Timothy. And I'm getting accused of judging for doing these things that Paul said to do. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all longsuffering and doctrine, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Listen carefully to this whole chapter, and you will see that time was beginning before Paul was killed. They will no longer endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Or basically teachers who tell these people what they want to hear. Yes, in every house of worship today, that is what's taking place. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth. That's what's happened. And shall be turned to fables. Fables like what? Santa Claus coming down the chimney. The bunnies laying Easter eggs. Etc. But watch you in all things endure the affliction, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought the good fight, I have finished my course, and I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Master, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Oh yes, isn't this beautiful? How then is it that it says that the nations will mourn at his appearance? All those who love his... You know who's waiting for the appearance of the Messiah? Israel. All Israel. When the Jews see him, they will mourn over him like a lost son. They will be so happy to see him, and the nations, the Gentiles, will mourn. They will not accept him because he is Israel's Messiah. See, Paul's words. Now, have you ever heard any preacher point this out? I bet that I'm the first one who pointed this out to you. Do your diligence to come shortly after me, to come shortly unto me. Why? All right, he starts mentioning all these people who rejected him. Paul is mentioning all these people who were once of the faith and have rejected him. Listen carefully, folks. For Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world, and is departed unto Thessalonica. Crescens to Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Only Luke is with me. Take Mark and bring him with you, for he is profitable to me for the ministry. And Tychicus, now I don't think that Mark is, let's see here. It is possible that this Luke and Mark are not the same Luke and Mark that we know of. Because you see, Paul's ministry was to the Gentiles. Luke and Mark, the originals, were not. They were only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Please remember that. So these are very quite possibly two different Lukes and Marks. Antiochus have I sent to Ephesus. The cloak that I left at Troy in Carpus, when you come, bring with you and the books, but especially the parchments. Alexander the coppersmith did me much evil. The master reward him according to his works, of whom beware also. for he has greatly withstood our words. At my first answer, no man stood with me. At my first answer, no man stood with me, but all men forsook me. I pray Jehovah that it might not be laid to their charge. Notwithstanding, the master stood with me and strengthened me, that by me preaching might be fully known, and that all the Gentiles might hear. And I was delivered out of the mouth of the lion, and the master shall deliver me from every evil work, and will preserve me unto his heavenly kingdom, to whom be the glory forever and ever. And he gives his final greetings. So you see, what I'm saying is that the church, the Gentile church, was turning away in full force before Paul died. He said so. Now, there are people, now, I do not ever, let me repeat myself, I do not ever in any way condemns or even speak lightly of any Sabbatarian. Okay? I would never do that. But there are some who are teaching that the covenant, the new covenant between the people and Jehovah is the Sabbath. I will, let me see if I can find this. All right. Okay. So John, let's go to John 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another, as I have loved you, that you also love one another. All right? Now this goes back to Leviticus 19:18. You shall not take vengeance nor bear any grudge against the sons of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So Jehovah first spoke of this. Jehovah, the Almighty, the Father, spoke of this. So it's a new commandment that Yeshua spoke, but it's an old commandment. Okay, I'm going, listen to me carefully with this. I'm going somewhere with this. John 15, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. So Yeshua Messiah says this over and over again. But he didn't get it that this was not his own commandment. This was a commandment that he got from his Father. John 15:17. This is my command to you, love one another. Romans 12 verse 10 says, not only be devoted to one another in brotherly love, but outdo yourselves in honoring one another. Romans 13:8 says, be indebted to no one except for one thing, and that is to love one another, because he who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. That's the fulfillment of the law. loving one another. I'm gonna get somewhere. Please be patient. Romans 13, love does no wrong to its neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Galatians 5 verse 14, as we see, Paul repeats word for word what Yeshua Messiah told the disciples. The entire law is fulfilled when you do one single thing. Love your neighbor as yourself. Again, he got it from Yeshua Messiah, who got it from the Father. So we'll go to where Yeshua Messiah said it. Luke 6 verse 31. Yeshua Messiah said these words, as you would that men should do to you, do also to them likewise. For if you love them which love you, what thank have you? And he's also saying, but do also to your enemies, and do good and lend, hoping nothing in return, and your reward shall be great, and you shall be the children of the highest. For he is kind to the unthankful and to the evil. Be you therefore merciful, as your Father is also merciful. Now, let's see if I can find this. James 2 and verse 13. For judgment without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy. Now the next words, that's where the weight is. Because mercy rejoices against judgment. Now in another translation it says mercy triumphs over judgment. Another translation says mercy rules over judgment. Okay? So, here's what I'm saying. Here's what the matter is here. All of those Christians whose religion turned away from the truth, and they were followers of those who turned away from the truth, when they exercised mercy, okay, especially on the Jews, during the Jews' time of need, when they exercised mercy, this particular passage is for them. Because they showed mercy, mercy will be shown to them. In other words, they will not be judged according to their sins. They will be judged according to their mercy. I have said over and over again, Christianity a long time ago turned away from the truth. went toward fables and paganism. But those among them who showed mercy, they showed fruits of the Holy Spirit. And when they are judged, they will be shown mercy. Why? Because in one sentence is fulfillment of the law. Not the Sabbath. Sabbath is not the fulfillment of the law. If the Sabbath was the fulfillment of the law, then the Jews would not have been rejected. That one generation of Jews would not have been rejected in the time of Yeshua Messiah's first coming. Now, so then, immediately upon Paul's death, many of the followers of Yeshua turned away from the truth, joined up with a Gentile group called Christians. When I say a Gentile group, I mean another Gentile group called Christians, who were persecuted along with the followers of Yeshua at the time, but joined along with them, and then Constantine took over and completely warped the religion and went from exercising mercy to murder, pillage, and rape for the next 2,000 or nearly 2,000 years. He that judges without mercy shall be judged without mercy. All these kingdoms in Europe, for all these years, murdered, pillaged, and raped those who did not agree with them. They judged without mercy. Yet, Gentiles like Albert Goring, so many of them, the righteous among the nations, who were Catholics, who were Protestants, of the filthy and abominable religions of Europe, yet they showed mercy. This is how you know you are of Yeshua Messiah, that you showed mercy. Keeping the Sabbath does not show mercy. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. Your neighbor is made in the image of your Creator. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you love the one who's made in his image, or the one who made him in his image. So, the new covenant is not based upon the Sabbath. The new covenant is based upon you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So the keepers of the new covenant, the keepers of the commandments, are now those who exercise love your neighbor as yourself. No matter what religion they may be a part of. It is that. That is the proof. There is no other proof. That's the reason why Matthew 25 in the parable of the sheep and the goats is written. Because you have done it to one of the least of these, my brethren, and he's speaking specifically of the Jews in their time of need, because he's talking to the nations. And he singles out the righteous among the nations, among the Gentiles. Come to my kingdom. That's what he's doing. Why? Because they showed mercy. That's the key, folks. That is the key. That is the answer. Don't let anybody sway you any other way. The kingdom is not about eating and drinking. So, you don't know if you are of the Messiah or not. You're worried. What am I going to do? Show kindness to a Jew. Don't try to berate him for his religion. Show kindness to a Jew. Maybe visit a Holocaust survivor. Use your imagination. Do something decent and honorable to the holy people. Because we see the world right now, once again, planning on surrounding them and destroying them off the face of the earth. Right now, as we speak, it's beginning to happen. Now is the time to show the Messiah who you really are. Because you see, the thorns and the briars are those who are murderers. I pointed this out before. Hebrews 6 and verse 8. Paul once again. I talked about those who crucified the Son of Jehovah afresh. I talked about how after World War II, the man who sits at the Vatican said, "We, the Catholic Church," as he said, and I quote, "We, the Catholic Church, crucified Messiah afresh when we, the children of Cain, murdered the sons of Abel, the Jews." That's what the man at the Vatican said. He admitted it. And here's what Paul's response to this is. Never forget this. Verse 6, if they shall rebel and then try to renew themselves unto repentance, seeing that they crucify to themselves the Son of Jehovah afresh and put him to open shame. For the earth which drinks in the rain and comes oft upon it and brings forth herbs meet for them by whom it is dressed, they are the one who received a blessing. So the ones who bear fruit of goodness, they're the ones who receive the blessing. But them which bear thorns and briars, who are those who bear thorns and briars? Those who massacre the Messiah afresh by massacring his brothers and sisters. Those are the thorns and briars. They are rejected, just like Cain was rejected. And near unto cursings, whose end is to be burned. Now you know the difference. And to Hal Turner and his followers who are right now, if you go on the Hal Turner show, HalTurner.com, I guess that's what it's called, they are talking about trying to overthrow the government on July the 4th if somehow the rule of law is not carried out on July the 3rd. And these people continually, day after day after day, speak against the Jews. Slander the Jews just like their forefathers did in Europe. And that would be what their plan is. And I would be wrong to hide the truth about what they're planning, knowing what they're planning on doing. So I am issuing a warning to all Jews in the United States what Hal Turner and his just go and read the Hal Turner stuff right now. I will, in fact, I will show you the article so that nobody can falsely accuse me or take me to court. This article where it says Israel attacking Syria again, large explosions heard in Damascus on Tuesday, February the 6th, that never occurred. It came later. Now, that's not the one that I was looking for. He may have removed his remarks. Hope I can find it. One of them is, I think he removed it because he was warned by one of the, right after he was warned by me, he was warned by somebody else that he may end up having to go to jail again for trying to incite violence against the United States. I'm hoping I can find it. It doesn't look like I can. However, anytime he posts Israeli jet shot down as Israel launches large-scale attack on Syria, every time he posts an article about Israel, he's always giving his little, or almost always putting in his 2 cent worth about his hatred for Israel. And of course, his little cronies, like on this particular article, despicable Jews never stop lying. They over and over and over again accuse the Jew. It's always the Jew. And of course, I have another fellow who says, your whole fake, rotten race is going to hell. But they, I don't know where they put that article. I bet you he took it off. He took it off because he got scared, because somebody warned him. I'm still looking for it because it was just put up. Oh, there it is. Man, I was looking all over the place for it. It was in front of my face. If sealed indictments not acted upon by July the 3rd, then on July the 4th, take the law into your own hands. Now check this out. This is Hal Turner. It's been over a year, since we took peaceful, law-abiding steps to drain the swamp. In that time, we have seen every manner of delay, misdirection, obstruction, protest, and shutdown. During that time, we have suffered lies, deception, and intentional misdirection by so many, on a scale so incredible as to make us wonder whether the rule of law even exists anymore. Well, it does exist. You see, we are the law. We, the people, are the law. We can take action on our own in the street by force. If the system is so broken that even the existence of sealed indictments does not stem the flow of corruption, then we have a duty to throw off this corruption and lay in its place something better. There are, as of today, over 13,000 sealed federal indictments on all 94 federal districts in the USA. Some of those indictments have remained sealed since late October. The belief is that these indictments are so overwhelming against so many powerful people that their implementation must be delayed for fear of allowing many to flee once the arrests begin. Fine, how long does this mean? How much longer must we wait before the filth is purged? I say, if this is Hal Turner speaking, I say if those indictments are not unsealed, an arrest effectuated by July the 4th, then we the people should take the law into our own hands and do what has to be done to drain the swamp via street justice starting on July the 4th. We already know who the liars, cheats, thieves, perverts, and corrupt people actually are. They make themselves visible every day. Now, what people do not understand, who do not read the HalTurnerRadioShow.com, is that Hal Turner and his buddies on this blog have been saying that the Jews are the ones, daily accusing the Jews of doing all these things. And so what they're essentially saying is that in July the 4th, if nothing happens, then they're going to go around and exert their own form of street justice on those who they view as wicked. You do the math. And so, Sammy, one of those guys, in the blog says, how about telling the truth about the slave trade? Not the white men, but the Jews owned the ships and the captains and the crews who traded rum for black slaves. The Dutch West Indian Company was Jewish Jews who ran the markets and sold them 40% of the slave owners. Jews are not white. They hate whites. Jews are still the biggest slavers in the world. Jews are also sold white slaves then and now. I'm looking for the one. Wow. They got a whole long list of remarks. Okay, so this guy who calls himself Rusty Clutch said, Hal must be related to Pete Santilli, FBI informant turned patriot inciting violence. Discrediting true patriots in the process, possibly getting people killed. Must have been quite a bump he took on the head. And Hal Turner says, not at all. How long are we supposed to wait? Perhaps until the statute of limitation runs out and they cannot be prosecuted? How long before we see that what's going on is mere theater and that no real consequences are even intended? If the founding fathers thought like you, there would never have been an America. Well, what Hal Turner doesn't realize is British king. The war, the Revolutionary War, was fought over taxation without representation. And of course, one person remarking to Sammy is, one of them dirty Satan Jews. Right, Sammy, right? So somebody accuses Hal Turner of being racist, and he says, "Racist? What do you see in the posting that's racist? In fact, what do you see anywhere on this website that's racist?" And one of the one of his articles on Israel says, uh, basically accuse Israel of being what's wrong with the whole world. And so Rusty Clutch says, "Yes, racist. We've had this discussion, Hal. Even if a cursory browsing of Google didn't expose your white nationalist ties, I can recall an article you posted based on early 20th century German paper about how unintelligent Negroes are. You also went to federal prison once already for these exact types of threats and calls to arms. Anybody associated with you is an idiot." So he says, "No, I went to prison because I said what needed," this is Hal Turner saying this, "what I needed it to be said about 3 rogue federal judges. They're powerful people and I got nailed by their power. I didn't threaten anyone, but that didn't matter. The post above does not name any specific person or entity." No, it doesn't, but he specifically incites violence in that post. It does not provide any location, hence there cannot be any incitement because no one is specifically mentioned and no location is given. As for my ties to white nationalism, it is interesting you omit the fact that no such ties existed before I was tasked by the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force to infiltrate such groups so the Bureau could go after the radical left-wingers who protest them. That's what I did for the FBI, National Security, Terrorism, and Foreign Counterintelligence, to protect useful idiots like you. All of this came out at my 3 trials in federal court. As for some German articles about blacks, I think you referred to an article which talked about IQ of various groups. The story was published in medical and scientific journals. Your issue is with them, not me. So now, after Hal Turner is telling people to start taking the law into their own hands, you've got some people basically calling him out now. And then are asking the question, when you were with the FBI, were you involved in the outing of Joshua Caleb Sutter as a federal agent? Now, I don't know who this guy is, but they're calling him out because, in Hal Turner's own words, he is or was a member of a 3-digit or a 3-letter department in the U.S. government. So here we have a former government official trying to incite violence among Jew haters to overthrow the government. This is the reason why I have to mention this. Once again, a government agent or a former government agent trying to overthrow or telling people to start riots out in the street and start attacking those who they think are wicked. And Hal Turner's followers are always yelling slander against the Jews. So please, all Jews and those who have Jewish friends, pay attention to this. Watch this guy. Department of Homeland Security need to watch this guy. he is getting to be to the point of being dangerous for a specific group of people in the United States. I don't go around and pointing my finger at people on my videos, but if I sense that Jews are in danger from somebody, I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I have told you that I'm a Zionist, and I will speak and be loud concerning Zion until Zion's king rules in Jerusalem. Be watchful, watch the goings on in the Middle East, because the Middle East right now is in a very, very desperate situation. And this thing could get out of control within hours. Jerusalem Post, Debka.com, Times of Israel, Israel National News Online, and others. Watch. Pay attention.